Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and it's time for another fun game and another win against a 3000. Let's get to it. This time we're playing against Nihal Sarin, and well, it's going to be an opposite side castling, meaning very fun and attacking game here. Let's do it. All right, I got the white pieces against him, and I start off with, of course, my beloved pawn to e4. He plays e5, playing a very solid game. Knight f3 attacks the pawn, knight c6 defends the pawn. I went ahead and played d4. I like to play me a Scotch. And he plays knight to f6 here. A very interesting move here. And, well, I went ahead and just played pawn takes on e5. I like to try and mix things up as much as possible. Knight takes on e4 here. Let's develop with a threat. Bishop to c4 here. This comes with a nice little idea. Not that I think that Nihal would fall for this, but if they're playing too fast here, play something like a6. Here we can play queen to d5 for a nice fork on the knight and the checkmate here on f7. And you can even try bishop takes f7 check, at least if you want to win a pawn rather than a piece. Of course, Nihal doesn't fall for this kind of silliness, though. He goes ahead and plays knight to c5 here. A very nice move, which brings the knight to safety, and also can retreat the knight to e6 here. Let's keep developing. The knight goes to c3. Bishop to e7, and here bishop e3. I definitely want to keep my options open here. Because of my smooth development here, my nice pawn here on e5, I definitely have ideas about castling queenside in this game. Here he went ahead and castled kingside. I go ahead and play queen to d2. Here, knight gets to play to e6, and well, I can't help it. We're going queenside, baby. Here, I really like queenside castling, as not only does this give me very good attacking chances with h4, g4, a kingside pawn storm, which is the best plan with opposite side castling, but also you can see here we're putting very good pressure down the d file here, so it might not be so simple for him to just go ahead and play something like pawn to d6 here. And here, well, I guess he agreed. He goes ahead and plays pawn to a6. Now, this does go along with the best strategy. Again, theoretically, I want to push my pawns down the board over here and try to open up the h and g file, bring my rooks over, and attack the king. And then theoretically for him, he wants to go ahead and push his b and a pawn and then bring his rooks over here and attack my king here also. So a6 has the idea of getting a free tempo with playing pawn to b5. I can't really stop that from happening, so I went ahead and just continued with my ideas. King over to b1. Typically, when you castle queenside here, especially as white, you're going to want to go ahead and bring your king over just because of checks and other things like that. Here, b5 gets played, bishop to b3, and here he played knight to a5 here, which I think is a very good move. Maybe pawn to a4 ideas was also a very strong idea here too, but hey, who am I to question a 3100 over here? Knight a5, a very good move here. And here I continue with knight to d5 here. I mean, who doesn't want a knight in the center here? And the knight is posted very, very well. Here he played knight takes b3 and a takes on b3. Funny enough, I think the doubling of the pawns here, excuse me, is going to go ahead and give me some better defense chances, at least when the pawns run forward here, as we shall see soon. Here, bishop b7 got played here. And, well, you can go ahead and snack and win a pawn here, although I definitely do not like that. Right now, it's not only about winning pawns, it's whoever gets the attack first is going to be winning here. And here, I did play a little bit inaccurate here, and I went ahead and played rook he1. The idea here was really to develop the piece and put some central pressure on him. Looking back at it now, I definitely think I should have continued with just the thematic move of pawn to h4 here, and maybe knight to g5. Again, the idea is to open up files and diagonals against your opponent's king, and so I'm hoping after knight g5 to either put pressure on h7 with simple moves like queen to d3, or hopefully they'll take, and I could take h takes back and then have the open h file here, as we will soon see in this game. As I said here, I played rook h to e1 though. Here we played rook over to e8, and here finally I understood the right idea. I understood the assignment on the g4. Here we go. Let's start pushing our kingside pawns. Pawn to a5 gets played. Again, he's going along with the same kind of ideas. h4 over here, and here, pawn to a4. Of course, he's more than welcome to take the pawn here on h4, as it doesn't really help him. There's a few good moves here to play. Knight takes h4 can get played, but even stronger is pawn to g5 here. The bishop is actually trapped over here, and well, I'm probably just going to win it. Also, I can bring my rook over to h1 if needed here too. So, here he continues with, again, the right idea, pawn to a4. Again, whoever gets the attack first is typically going to be winning here. Here I played pawn b4. This move makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, tanking here would allow rook takes on a4, and then you can see how, with this open file, well, there's going to be lots of threats being generated against my king. So, b4, although a weird-looking move, is trying to keep it closed as long as possible. But Nihal is not going to go ahead and lay down quietly. He goes and plays pawn to a3. Here already he's at a -1 in this position. He is definitely better right now. And here again, just like last time, I want to keep it closed. Pawn to b3. Pawn to a2 check. This pawn is just running down the board here, harassing my king. But here I'm okay. I go ahead and play king over to a1. And this is called the umbrella pawn. Basically, as the umbrella will keep the rain off you, here the pawn will keep the pieces off me. Notice that this is a very nice defensive resource because, well, as long as this pawn's here, he can't really take his own piece, right? So I'm going to try to hide behind this pawn as long as possible. So he has to find different ways to generate threats here. And here, well, he found a way to win a pawn. He played bishop takes on d5, queen takes on d5, and bishop takes on b4. And it's less about winning a pawn here, but more about checkmating me. Not only is this winning a pawn, but now he has a simple move here, a bishop c3, which is a checkmate. And he's attacking my rook. Okay, well, we can't obviously lose the game like this. Bishop to d2. Obviously, I'm more than happy to get rid of this piece, which is not only a good attacking piece, but also a good piece that can checkmate me. And here he decides wisely to play bishop f8. Here he doesn't want to trade off the attacking pieces, at least just yet. And he'll probably have ideas about playing pawn g6, bishop g7, and then his bishop will be eyeing my king all the way across the board. Well, we can't just lay down. Even though we're down a pawn here, it's quite okay. Again, against opposite side castling, it's okay to be down a pawn. Whoever has the attack first will typically win. So here, let's keep it going. Pawn to h5 here. We got to keep the attack going. Pawn to c6 got played. An interesting move, a nice free tempo to attack the queen, but also ideas about bringing the queen out here too. That's okay, I get to remaneuver my queen to a better square. Here the queen goes to d3 with little hints about putting pressure on h7 here. Bishop goes to c5 here. I don't think this was the best move, but here I guess he brings his bishop out and threatens to take the f2 pawn. I mean, here I'm not really worried about that. Again, I'm just going after this kingside attack. So I said, well, you're more than welcome to grab the pawn. Here, let's keep our pawn storm going. Pawn to g5 here. I'm willing to go ahead and give as many pawns as I can just so I can open up and attack this king. Here he played pawn to g6. Which is probably the best move here. Again, if he's not paying attention, I don't know, play something like queen over to b6. Then I will go ahead and play pawn to g6 here, and this is going to force open the file here. Notice with g6, we're making threats against both of these pawns. So either way, I'm going to get an open f file, or I'm going to get an open h file here. This is the theoretical idea. And so that's why he goes ahead and just plays g6 himself here. But again, I'm going to get an open file either way. I went ahead and played h takes g6, and here he played h takes g6, which apparently is not best, which I think makes sense to a lot of people here. Why? Well, now the h file is opened up, and I have a very easy plan. I want to get my rook and my queen on this file as soon as possible so I can try and checkmate him. So here, believe it or not, it was actually best to go ahead and take back with... Here it was actually best to go ahead and take back with the f pawn here. And this is definitely a lot safer because although I'm going to get the open h file either way, the rook can move to e7 and defend here on h. The rook can go to e7, which will help defend on h7 here, and maybe even the queen can move over here too. Although again, there's still some attacking chances here for white. Yeah, I even like this better because maybe the rook goes down the f file, can put pressure down here too, and simultaneously defend. But he chooses the wrong idea. Now I have a +1 advantage here. Let's get to it. Rook goes to h1. No time to waste. Let's get the rook and queen to the h file as soon as possible. And here, I don't know, he must not have thought I was knowing the right idea, or he just didn't see it. He goes ahead and just takes the pawn f2. Now it is now a +4 position here. Because, well, again, grabbing this pawn doesn't mean too much in this position. It's whoever can get to the attack first. So here, queen over to e2, attacking the bishop. But the real idea is to go ahead and get the queen over to the h file. Of course, he sees this idea. He plays bishop g3, putting pressure on the pawn and stopping my queen to go into h2. That's why computer points out a stronger idea, which is queen to f1 and then over to h3. So here I played queen e2, the second best move. Bishop g3, queen over to g2. Again, a nice free tempo, and again, looking to play queen to h3 here. And this is the +4 advantage. Here he plays a nice tricky move of knight to d4, always looking for those tactical resources. And here you have to be careful. Is this a free bishop? I wouldn't call it a free bishop. If queen takes on g3, it is now black who is in control. Knight takes on c2 check, king over to b2, and then he can make a queen, and the game is going to get crazy here. let's not go into these crazy variations unless needed. So here, after he played knight to d4 here, I kept it simple with knight takes on d4 here. But now the idea is known. He's going to win the e5 pawn, and the bishop is able to go ahead and defend and simultaneously attack. Again, this is one of those good bishops that's not only worth 3 points. This one's probably worth at least 4, if not 5. With that being said, if I can get rid of this bishop, there's true checkmating ideas. But first things first, let's not lose our knight in check here. I went ahead and played bishop c3. One of the big ideas is not only to defend, but again, I want to trade this bishop off and look for those checkmating ideas. Here, the game actually ends pretty fast here. Queen b6, developing with a pseudo threat, putting pressure on d4. It's not really attacked, and here I don't really need to defend it. The rook is already protecting it, so queen to h3. Checkmating ideas are now in the air. It is now a +6 in the evaluation bar. Queen over to c5. Now a little bit of threats here. The queen is putting pressure on the bishop, and here I went ahead and just brought my bishop back to b2. Bishop over to g7, and here it is now checkmate in 4. Unfortunately, I did miss this, but hopefully you can go ahead and push pause and see if you can find the forced checkmate in 4 here. Alright, hope you push pause and try to figure it out. Here, the checkmate I missed. Queen to h7 check, king to f8, and here the idea is so beautiful. Queen takes on g7 check. If the king tries to run over to e7, it's just queen f6 check, king f8, rook h8 checkmate. So here, the move of king takes on g7 must get played. And now, well, it's up to you. You can play the knight in 2 different ways. I prefer the knight to f5 here, check. And when the king runs over to f8, g8, it doesn't really matter. The rook slides down for a beautiful checkmate. Oof. Here I find something very similar, just a little bit slower. In the game, after bishop g7 got played, I went ahead and played queen to h7 check. King over to f8. I missed the stupendous queen takes on g7 check, but I went ahead and did find rook over to f1. Simple idea here. I'm looking for queen takes on g6 and going ahead and pinning and winning. It's still a winning position at +8 here. Here we took on g5, which makes sense, but hey, you can't expect me to keep missing this very good move. Here I spot the beautiful move. Knight over to e6 check, and this is going to be forcing the checkmate. Again, there's nothing really to stop it here. I'm forking the queen, I'm forking the king. He has to take back here. Anyway, it's just going to be bad. And here it's just lined up here. My rooks are doing a great job. My queen is lined up. The bishop's here. Game over. Here we go. Checkmate in 3. Queen takes g7 check. King over. Queen takes on f7 check. King over. Ending the game with queen takes on d7 for a beautiful check and mate. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. Remember, this was a very fun game demonstrating the idea about opposite side castling. Here, whenever you're playing the Scotch, you can pretty much keep things a little bit open. Think about castling queenside here, and don't forget, whenever you're playing your games, do not worry about the pawns for opposite side castling. It's whoever gets the attack first will win. Alright guys, we'll see you in the next video.